Giant monster movies are filled with great moments. There are some which are thrilling, and some which are contemplative. There are some that invoke laughter, and some that invoke tears. There are some that make our spines tingle, and some that make us wonder just what was in that drink. Some moments are so iconic, in fact, that they have ingrained themselves into the zeitgeist as some of the greatest movie scenes of all time. When I first proposed the idea for one monstrous moment, I knew that picking just one scene to discuss would not be easy. It was a daunting task for everyone you'll find on the playlist, though I'm happy to say they all stepped up to the challenge.
The scene I am about to cover was one of the first to enter my mind, but for a brief stretch of time I wasn't entirely sure it was the one I should do, because at first I didn't think it was necessarily a very deep scene. The more I thought about it, though, the more I realized that it actually had more layers and more significance to the genre than you might initially think. If you want a really good kaiju scene, you must consider Godzilla's flaming charge from the last Showa film, Terror of Mechagodzilla.
The scene itself doesn't last very long, but I'm sure it sticks in a lot of fans' memories.
I certainly remember being stunned by it as a kid when I first saw it on TNT's Monster Vision, and it goes like this.
Having gotten his second wind, Godzilla is turning the tides of battle. While the humans disorient Titanosaurus with a sonar weapon, the G-Man focuses on his robotic double. Mechagodzilla unloads every weapon at its disposal simultaneously, but Godzilla continues charging forward, not stopping even when his back bursts into flames, determined to reach his foe and end the fight once and for all.
Here's a bit of trivia about this scene, just in case you either didn't know it or forgot about it. Godzilla was not supposed to catch fire in this scene. It was a freak accident that wasn't supposed to happen, but they left it in the film anyway because they thought it looked cool. Just keep that in mind as we move forward. So of all the scenes I could have picked, why did I choose this one specifically? Well, for starters, it's visually stunning.
A dinosaur bursting into flame is one of the most metal sights you'll ever see. Granted, we've seen Godzilla catch fire before in Mothra vs. Godzilla, but those were a few small flames that are almost invisible. These flames are hard to miss, but there's actually more to this scene than this purely aesthetic aspect.
Let's start at the surface and work our way down from there.
Here we see Mechagodzilla in full berserker rage mode, spamming every attack at once to stop Godzilla.
Admittedly, this isn't the first time we've seen him do that.
He did the same thing in the last movie, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Heck, all Terror did was take that same footage and reverse it.
However, there is a key difference between the two segments.
In the first film, Mechagodzilla's barrage is horribly effective at overwhelming Godzilla and King Caesar, creating a genuine sense that the two heroic monsters might actually lose.
In Terror, that same non-stop assault doesn't work.
This time, Godzilla isn't dropping. This time, not even the worst damage he can suffer is enough to stop him.
And Godzilla's refusal to succumb to this non-stop assault actually makes this a great character moment for the King of the Monsters.
Godzilla has played many different roles across his 6-decade-long career, running the gamut from wholesome good to despicable evil and everything in between. Yet whether he was protector or destroyer, his personality traits were always retained.
There's one trait in particular that's present even in Godzilla's weakest portrayals: his determination.
When Godzilla has a goal, he will advance until he reaches it, and if an enemy gets in his way, he will fight until one of them is knocked out of the ring. Usually it's the other monster, but if Godzilla loses, just give it time and eventually he'll be back to try again.
This scene right here possibly shows Godzilla at his most determined, because not even immolation can stop him from reaching Mechagodzilla.
Even as the fire rages, he continues forward. It's a brief flash of pain endured for total victory.
Ah, but that determination isn't just Godzilla's in this scene. It's also the actors.
That's Toru Kawai playing Godzilla in this film. Actually, he's the only suit actor thus far to have played both Godzilla and Gamera, and he also worked on several Ultraman series beginning with Ultraman Ace. He may not be as renowned among kaiju fans as Haruo Nakajima or Ken Satsuma, but thanks to this charging scene, I'd say he deserves all kinds of respect.
Bear in mind, folks, being a suit actor is not easy. Every Godzilla fan dreams of one day wearing a Godzilla suit until they learn what that actually entails.
Kaiju suits are very heavy. The Terror suit was around 88 pounds, which is on the lighter side if you can believe it, and that weight would be bad enough if not for all of the other difficulties. Thanks to the materials used in the suits, they're basically dinosaur-shaped sweat boxes. It can get up to 120 degrees in those things, meaning actors can usually only wear them for a few minutes at a time before needing to rehydrate and cool down. Breathing is also difficult, as the only ventilation is a few tiny holes punched in the neck, which the actor also has to see out of.
And then there are the on-set hazards that come in all kinds of varieties.
These actors are surrounded by real explosions, sometimes standing in the middle of them, and often getting pelted with small projectiles. Some suits are rigged to have explosions on them, and the actor can hear and feel when each one goes off. Add to that the occasional risk of drowning if you tripped in the water tanks, or getting dropped if you're flying, and it should be apparent that suit acting is not a job for the faint of heart or weak of fortitude.
So here we see Toru Kawai already sweltering inside that heavy suit, surrounded by explosions, getting pelted with projectiles, and then something goes wrong and he catches fire. And through it all, he keeps going. I would argue that in this moment, there's no difference between Godzilla and Kawai.
They are one, both driven by the same dogged determination to move forward and do what they came to do. That's what you call commitment right there.
But there's one last layer to consider. Remember how I've been saying over and over again that Godzilla wasn't supposed to catch fire in this scene? It was an accident that looked so cool they wound up leaving it in. You might say it was a happy accident. Now, I'm no snob when it comes to special effects, but that sort of thing could never be achieved with CGI.
When using CGI, everything is programmed, so that kind of spontaneity with something going wrong yet simultaneously going right just doesn't happen. For contrast, consider the finale of Kong Skull Island, and all those various shots we get of Kong battling the Skullcrawler in admittedly epic fashion.
To be clear, a lot of effort went into making this scene, and it's a great scene with great atmosphere, effects, and acting. But everything that happens in it is exactly what was supposed to happen.
The monsters don't do anything unexpected, and nothing goes wrong during filming. This scene went exactly the way it was supposed to go, and that's great. But imagine if this had been done with practical effects. Imagine if something hadn't gone quite as planned during a take, but the result turned out to be even better than what the crew had been aiming for.
Sure, it's not guaranteed to happen, but on the off chance that it does happen, it could wind up being spectacular, real movie magic. But thanks to the use of digital effects, the odds of such a thing happening are officially reduced to 0.
Don't get me wrong, folks, I still enjoy Kong Skull Island, and I don't mean to diminish the work that went into making this final battle. But at the same time, it doesn't have the same level of reality to it that Godzilla's Flaming Charge does. The fire and terror of Mechagodzilla is the sort of thing that nobody expected, and that makes it special in a way that can only be achieved with practical effects.
So as I said at the start, this scene from Terror of Mechagodzilla, despite going by quickly, has more layers to it than you might at first think. It serves as a great character moment for the King of the Monsters, says a lot about the commitment of suit actors, and shows just what sort of incredible things can be achieved through the art of suitmation and practical effects. Just goes to show that sometimes it's the stuff you don't count on happening that turns out to be just what you need to make one monstrous moment. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. But I'm not the only madman who took up the challenge of waxing poetic about one monstrous moment. If you haven't already, check out the playlist for more giant monster scenes than there are monsters in Final Wars. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.